Welcome to the BIDE podcast, the podcast of the Barcelona International Dance Exchange. Today, in our episode 121, we have as a guest Bjorn Safsten. Bjorn, thank you to be with us today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we are in our studio in Barcelona, and we would like to start with the same question that we usually start with our guest. It's about the person, Then we'll be talking about all the things that you are doing, because are a lot, and are amazing. So if you can describe who is Bjorn during this hot summer and during this 2025 with a lot of challenge from everywhere, what do you say to the people that maybe you don't know you?
Oh, yeah. I think I'm a person that at the moment needs some rest and vacation, which I will get in a few days, actually. I will go back to Stockholm and be with my partner for 4 weeks, and we have decided to do quite little, actually. What do you want to know about me? Some personal details also, of course.
Maybe, the person who is Bjorn. Not in the sense of defining yourself or describe, but it's more a description that how you feel that
I'm received, maybe, usually, or...
Yeah, or actually, so...
Actually, I would say that I'm more of an introvert than people would think. I'm very good, usually, and... putting on a happy face and pleasing people, but I actually do need quite a lot of time for myself. I'm a daydreamer, totally. That's one of my best hobbies, to just invent different fantasy worlds that I run off to.
Great, and following this daydreaming that I mentioned that I really like, also as from your human side. What do you feel from these dreams that you are bringing to the performing arts ecosystem? Because these dreams are important for you, Also, when we met, you told me that you like to have a long walk through the lake near your house, no?
Yes.
And it's a moment for reflection. And if you allowed me, what be the reflection that not just make you be going and going and going with all the things that you are handling, but also what do you feel is your I don't know if I can call it, sometimes I use this analogy from the food, your spice, that you are bringing to the performing arts for this streaming mindset and person that you are.
Well, I think if I think of what some people have been commenting on my work, they've seen quite a lot what I do, there is usually some kind of darkness, maybe, or I know, for example, my mom, she's not alive anymore, but she said for many years that she was kind of, for her being my mom, she felt it was a bit rough to see that so many of the works were so dark, and she thought that it's like, oh, are you sad, are you depressed? And I'm like, no, it's not at all. This is not a reflection of my inside is not dark, but I think I view the world perhaps through a critical lens. And I think this darkness sometimes comes about with a kind of a satire or a dark kind of humor, and other times it can be something more mystic, maybe. And I think that's also something that I bear with me as a heritage, maybe from the Swedish dance scene. So like the generations that came before me, they were also often linked to maybe more folklore tradition. So there is some kind of kind of movement-based dance, but that has had a touch of this something else. What is that? The elves or the gnomes or all of these like creatures that come from our culture somehow, like that we believe exists and are dancing and moving in the forests. And I'm from very high up north in Sweden. I grew up basically where there's only pine forests. Where it's like
not much to do, So.
Not much to do, but you become very creative.
Yeah.
So I think there's some kind of touch or spice of that.
Great.
Yeah.
And this the Swedish, let's say, background, and do you feel that this is still also across your way that you interact with your possible performance or how you work as a creator, this Swedish heritage, so to speak, or not?
Not that I think about it actively, but if I look at it in terms of my history and the people that came before me and taught me, I think there is something like that. And I think it's also something we don't talk about it much in Sweden, because there's been so many different other genres or trends coming since then. Now I'm talking about the 80s and the 90s. Yeah, no? And I think maybe when the conceptual wave in choreography came to Stockholm, we started to talk about things in a much more concrete way, like, or more in relationship to philosophy or in relationship to politics. And I don't think we really name these perhaps more spiritual or certain aesthetical preferences that sometimes you can see that lingers in quite many people's work. Yeah, so I think, but when I think about making a new work, that's not the place where I go to search. But I think it's more like it's part of, like, often when I do choreography, I'm looking for a certain type of tension or a certain type of conflict, that there's something also maybe even in the composition that brings me a sensation of a type of energy. And then I think that energy maybe bears that history, you know, like, but that it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what it is.
And when you said about your mom feedback, you know, about being sort of dark, you know, so do you feel that because sometimes, you know, we have the typical, I don't know, what a cliche from the north, you know, especially for the Sweden television and movies that are quite this, what they call the north film noir, you know, with the type of, you know, dark background. But it's more about the whys. What makes this belief that in Sweden the culture tends to be dark? So I mean, is it because of it's because it's a brand, or maybe it's because you have a long, you know, winters and the light is not there and so on. So I wonder, what is your take in that?
Yeah, but I think the climate is one thing.
Yeah,
for sure. Like the winter's long, it's dark, and and you're very often like kind of tensed. Like when you're moving through the streets of Stockholm, you tense and you look down and you cannot stop and talk to people. Or like when we walked over here to your studio, we see elderly people sitting on benches talking to each other.
Okay.
This is, you know, this will not happen in this video. You will have to do that inside, right?
Yeah.
You have to know each other. And I think there's something with, also something that perhaps, because many people tend to think about Sweden as a very rich country, right? Which is true today. But that is not even 100 years. Not like we were one of the poorest countries in Europe
At the beginning
from
of
the
last
18th century until the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And it's basically a culture of poor farmers. And this kind of bourgeois lifestyle doesn't really exist. And I think a certain type of intellectual conversation is not something that is very prominent. It's like a culture of engineers. It's a culture of farmers, of hardworking labor, socialism. You know, like you stick your head down to into the mud and you plow, like, right. And I think there's something in that mentality of like kind of a fighting spirit that can bring a type of darkness also.
Okay, great. And if you feel about, you already named some of them, but and because we know from before, I would like to ask you about your references. You know, what type of references you have besides this, let's say, you know, heritage from how Sweden is. You have also a really powerful narrative about the gay community, you know, so to speak. So, what are your references when you start to think about all the things that you are producing? You know, also I know that you like cinema, and so if you can share a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, usually I start with most of the topics that I choose are topics that I have some kind of hate-love relationship with, or that there's something that is unresolved in my life, or right. So, like this last piece that you're referring to, that is called "Haunted Desires." It's more complex than that, but on the first level, it's somehow about how gay men are behaving on social media, right?
Yeah.
And I felt that I was very drawn into the machinery, but also felt that it was not maybe so good for me to consume all of that. And then I was, you know, So I was struggling with that, how to be with social media. Should I take them away? Should I not use them? Could I use them in different ways? You know, like I was kind of in a fight with it. And then after a few years, then it's typical for me that I go like, look, I'm fighting with this. This isn't a big issue in my life. Let's make art about it. No? And then when I have decided that, then I start to look maybe more at philosophy or certain books, or like you said, I had certain films. For me, it was All of Us Strangers in this specific piece. Then I start to research around it, or we did a lot of screen recordings from OnlyFans and Instagram and various platforms that also became part of the choreographic material. So it's usually like I take the topic from my own life, from a specific struggle or question, and then the research starts.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I feel absolutely into that, because as a choreographer, I have the same way of making questions to myself first, and then everything else comes later. So
Right.
And in this case, following up, if you allow me, what would be the questions that you are dealing with nowadays? As a person, as an artist, as also facilitator of programs that we'll be talking later. So what would be the questions that are kind of now messing with your head and with your life now?
Well, I think one thing that I'm struggling with, or somehow this sensation of time. This has been, it sounds maybe very abstract, but this is something that I've been trying to treat also in other works, and I'm now in the midst of doing something with that again, which is, I think, perhaps maybe some kind of crisis of getting older or becoming middle-aged, which I am now. And I find it to be, maybe because also these last years I've had a quite stressful life, and I find it difficult to become present. So there's also a line in my work. I've always been interested of like, how do we create presence on stage? What is actually presence, and what type of presence? So somehow, like maybe like the sensation of time, like how can I give credit maybe to that, or how is it possible to materialize that sensation maybe? I think there's also something with for another project that is maybe more in the future, I'm thinking of somehow like the issue of being understood, and the lack of communication and translations in various kinds. So this is also something that I've also been returning to many times in my career. I find that somehow like the semantic level of dance and choreography really interesting to investigate. No, I think it's an issue of society always. It's an issue within close relationship always. But it's also an issue of a dance form like dance that very often are judged to be very abstract. Like, and some parts of the audience might find it hard to know what it's trying to communicate. So I think there's something in the struggle of the arts, of dance arts, and the struggle of the human sensation that somehow meets there, maybe in one way or the other.
Great. And I make a little jump about because about this question also you created a long time ago, about a few years ago, but that's a long time. There's this platform for exchange, and it's something that also relate to each other. So from where came the chance to make a space and date where different artists can exchange how they think, how they practice, how they understand dance. So from where this question emerged, and what is going on nowadays with this project?
Right. So it's a festival called Within Practice, and I started to think about it around 2016, 17 or something. The first edition was in 2018, and it was somehow when the Swedish dance community had started to use the term practice a lot. Like everyone was talking about their own practice. I'm putting my practice on stage. I'm not designing work. And I felt that there was somehow a gap between the general audience and the language they were using and what we as artists were using. And that this terminology practice was a way too abstract at the moment. And on the other side, I do feel also that within I mean, I am interested of like how can we in the community create these type of platforms for sharing, because I think that's a constant. We always need that, right?
Yeah.
Like an updating, and so then it came about like, okay, maybe I should do a festival where we focus on the terminology practice, and not to try to distinguish what practice is or what practice should be, but rather just like opening the buffet of what contemporary dance practices can be today.
Yeah.
Right?
Without make this brand type of definitions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's why also then the within. So like, I was more curious about how do we do what we do rather than why do we do what we do.
Yeah.
Because not that the whys are not interesting, they're super
No,
interesting, but
no,
I feel
no.
that we have, at least in Sweden and in Stockholm, there are more formats for that already. Like we sit and talk about our pieces, like post performance talks or introductions are usually based on why the artist is choosing to work on this thematics, right?
Yeah.
But I felt like we didn't really have any forums of speaking, but then how do you do it actually?
Yeah.
When you go into the studio on daily basis, what do you do? How is that constructed? What are you naming it? What's the first step? What's the fifth step?
Yeah.
If you're going to teach it to someone, how do you frame it? How do you name it? Right? These were the questions. And I also felt like I wanted to, because I felt when I was a young dancer, a lot of my strongest experiences of learning was maybe not when people were saying things to me, but it was when I was standing next to other dancers dancing together. Like this physical tactile experience and this mirroring can be so strong. So I had this like vision, like could I get everyone that is working professionally with contemporary dance in Sweden to be in the same space at the same time dancing together, like from the repertoire companies to the universities to like, so that was kind of a vision. And so the festival has of course not reached that yet, but it's within practice it's biannual, so it happens every even year in Stockholm, usually in early October, and it runs for a week, and it's kind of like the first part of the week is only for professionals and students of dance, where we take workshops, we take classes, there's sharing practices, self-curatorial events. And then the second part of the week is more for the public. So then we commission choreographers to do what we call practice presentations. So close to performance lectures. So they develop something specifically for the festival where they talk about, but also do and are within their practicing. And we present 2 artists a night, like double bills. And then we will also have panels and conversations, sometimes lectures. It varies a bit.
Great. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And, yeah. And so within the practice, when you think, or maybe it was more than one moment, you realize that you can make it, and be living through this, performing that fantastic ecosystem. So do you remember some moment or one moment that they say, oh, yes, I was, it's a question that we introduce this year, and don't need to be a momentum, when you are in the middle of a mountain, seeing the sunset. Maybe it's when you are preparing the coffee, So if you can share us one of these moments that you say, yes.
In a dancing experience, you mean?
I think so, yeah, or professionally also. Say, okay, let's go forward, So let's try this again.
Yeah, I remember once actually I was then a dancer working in Austria in a youth company, and we were doing a piece, I think it was by Helene Weinzierl, and she had an assistant that came in that was coaching me on a material that I was doing in the performance. And he told me, because there was a lot of isolation work within that solo, and he just told me, it looks like you're placing the concept of tension and isolation together. There's no need for that. And I remember that was an epiphany for me.
Okay.
I don't need any tension to isolate? No? I mean, I was a young dancer. I don't know why. No one ever told me that I should have. It was just a way I was doing it, right? And he just flipped it around.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I remember that as like an epiphany moment. Oh, okay. I connected 2 concepts here that has nothing to do with each other, and I think it really changed the way I danced after.
Great.
Yeah.
And all the way around, the moment that you remember that maybe you fuck up,
There's many of those.
we have many, but the one that we can share through this podcast.
Yeah, I
Some
can
of them
share one, which is
Please.
one of the worst ones actually. I was okay, so I have to give a little bit of context.
Please,
I
please,
was
go
I
ahead.
was I was doing a commission work for a company in the south of Sweden that is called Skånes Dansteater, and it was a very hectic period. I was also just like breaking up with a partner, da, da, da. And in the middle of this work, I was sitting in Malmö. A woman called me from. We had like one of the most important literature prizes in Sweden that is called Augustpriset. And she called me from the jury and she said, we would want you to present one of the nominated for Augustpriset. And there's like 5, and it's like in one of the most fancy concert halls in Sweden, and there's like a lot of famous people coming and blah, blah, blah. I was very flattered, so I was like, yes, of course I can do this. She was like, yeah, we will send you the book, and it's happening next week. So I read this book in 3 days in the evenings, rehearsing during the nights. I flew up to Stockholm over the day, like rented a suit, got all suited up. I had made my script, and I remember I was already thinking, it's strange that they are letting me write in the script. Why are they not giving me a script? Today I would have.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, yes. So, and I'm standing there with 4 other quite prominent people that was doing the nominations for the others. I was the number 2nd to go, and it was kind of like we were standing in the back and this like fancy scenography, and there was kind of a catwalk going out into the audience, and we were going to go in front there one by one and do the nomination. And so the person before me is doing their nomination, and then when that person is walking back and people start to applaud, I'm starting to realize, the sound of the applause is really strange. They have this crazy echo. What is this? And then I realized that I cannot really see this person coming, that this person is all blurred. And then somehow I understand that, okay, now it's my turn. And I walk in front of this catwalk and I look down in the audience and I cannot see the face of anyone. Like everyone is just blurred. And I start talking and I have no idea what I'm talking about. And I talk for a while and I'm looking down to my card and I cannot see the text, and I'm looking out again and I'm talking, and it was just horrible. And then I walked back. So I got an anxiety attack there on the middle of the stage.
Wow.
This was one of the absolutely worst experiences in my life and professionally for sure.
Well, now we can remember with some fun behind.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
yeah, of course. and finally, in this line of this train of thoughts, do you think how many times you think about quitting? Maybe going out from this and do something else?
Quite often, actually.
Okay.
Not maybe leaving the dance community, but I'm sometimes thinking that I would like jump to the other side, like the admin side or programming side, or because I feel that there's so much pressure in being the author of art making, and there's a lot of pressure of running a company.
Yeah.
And I'm working often too much. I mean, I love my work also, and it's super rewarding, and I'm also very privileged. But sometimes I dream of what, at least in my head, would be a little bit of a simpler life. Probably, maybe it wouldn't be more simple, but I like being employed, for example.
Yeah.
Could be nice to try that once.
And before we go to the end of this interview and the last questions, and going back for the first one, what do you feel or think that all this give you back when you are at your home, walking by the lake? Maybe are a lot of different feelings, emotions, I don't know, thoughts or whatever. But if you can share with us what this performing arts as a body gives back to Bjorn.
First thing would be like friends for life. I think I met so many amazing people, and some of them have become the most important people in my life, basically. I'm very grateful for that. I'm also grateful that I have a work that that gives me the space to play so much. The playfulness, which I feel is also a big part of me, it can really get. And also this daydreaming and this fantasy, that's basically what we're doing. It's like I can do what I did as a child and get paid for it. Like I can daydream, I can make up, I can visualize things and then have fantastic people to help me to try to do that. I think that's beautiful. Maybe nowadays I'm not as fond of. I mean, I like traveling, but when I was younger, I loved that I got to travel so much. Now now I'm a bit more careful with my time. I don't travel as much, but I still like it. But I think that's also like a luxury in our field. Yeah, there's many different privileges, I think, and maybe also the sensation of agency. You know, that we, as freelancers, we get to build our own structure, and even though it's demanding, it also comes with a lot of flexibility and possibility to affect your own situation, which I think very few jobs have.
Yeah. Great. So about traveling, don't worry, you are not alone.
No,
You're
right?
the only
There's
one,
many
yeah.
of us, no? I mean, I think you travel more than I do.
Maybe. I don't. Let's talk about this later.
Yes.
So for the end, we have this tradition of that each guest leave a question for the next one without knowing who will be, and if they are related to just choreography, because we talk with everybody. So, of course, we have a question for you. Actually, you have two questions. But before I share with you and try to see if you can answer, of course, what question you'd like to, leave here for the next one? It can be two.
But maybe, one thing that I really do appreciate, and I think we could all do more, is to give credit to people that has been important for us in our career. Maybe that could be the question. Like, please name 3 people that you want to give extra credit to in your artistic career, and let us know a little bit about them or why, maybe.
Amazing question. I think nobody asked this question
I know.
before. No. So for you, you have 2 questions. No one, 2 questions from Alba Raventos and Uma Maraval, that they are organizing the Tatami and Retreat Festival of Somatics and Contact Impro, and also the festival, the dance festival of New Year at the end of 2025, and directors of Arte Movement. So the first one, I ask you in Spanish first because you speak really well in Spanish, but then I translate for the English speakers. So the first one is, ¿cuándo fue la última vez que hiciste algo que por primera vez y qué fue? When was the last time that you did something from the very first time, and when be? This is the first one. And the second one, ¿por qué haces lo que haces y qué haces? What do you do, and what do you are doing? So I think the last one you can already answer, but it can be great to have a little insight.
Yeah. So why do I do what I do, and what is it that I do?
Yes.
Often in my life, I felt that I didn't really have much choice than to do what I do. Like, the urge and the desire is huge. That's why I do what I do.
Great.
I feel that I have to and I want to.
Yes.
And what do? I try to make art that is relevant for me at the moment, and thinking, because one of my mantras in life is that we're not so original. No one is really. We're actually quite similar to each other. We're talking a lot about our individuality, but actually we're quite similar. So I'm thinking, if things are interesting and important for me, there will be others that also needs and think of them.
Great. And the first one?
Yeah.
When was the first time? No, when was the last time that you did something from the very first time, and when?
For example, this spring I was baking one of my favorite cakes for the first time. There's a Swedish cake called, or I don't even know if it's Swedish, but it's very popular in Sweden. It's called massarin. And
Massarin,
it's
okay.
been one of my favorite cakes since I was a child, but I never made them myself. And I did that in March.
And how was the opinion of the
People,
consumers?
people really liked it.
Okay.
I even tried to spice it slightly different, and it was a success.
Well, I hope that the next year when we'll be together, you can do.
I can do some
one more.
massarin.
Yeah,
Yes,
please,
for sure.
please. And finally, what be the tagline of this conversation?
There's more to talk about.
Great. So, thank you so much, Bjorn. It's a pleasure. I mean,
Thank you.
It was amazing to meet you for the very first time in February, and I hope that the people who are listening be inspired by not just all the things you do and from where and why and how, and also this humanity that you have behind, because people tend to forget this humanity side of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this was the episode number 121, and see you at the next one. Bye.